I am at the home of Franklin and Lauren Brown. On Tuesday, the 23rd of December, they will celebrate 55 years. And let me repeat that, not 5, not 25, but 55 years of wedded bliss. I'm here with Mr. and Mrs. Brown. Good morning to you both, and welcome to NTV. How are you today?
Oh, I'm very well, thank you.
What about you, Mr. Brown?
I'm very well.
Okay, let's talk about those 55 years, because we're not talking 5 years here. When did you first meet each other, and how was that first meeting? Maybe, Mr. Brown, you might want to go first.
Oh, we are schoolmates.
Okay.
And, we probably had been watching each other from a very early life.
Okay.
But I became a pupil teacher. And a couple of years later, she also became a pupil teacher. So we became more and more intertwined. Mm-hmm. And I began to climb up the ladder, you know. When she came in as a first-year pupil teacher, I was a second-year pupil teacher.
Okay.
And then I went on to the third year, and so on. And, you know, we were eyeing each other, mm-hmm. But I wasn't so sure that she was eyeing me. However, I pluck up a spirit, you know.
Courage.
Courage, that's right. Mm-hmm. And approach her one day, and I popped the question.
Okay.
She laughed, but she didn't say no, yeah. So I suppose
that's a good answer.
Silence is giving consent.
Yes. Miss Brown, normally a woman's take on a situation like this is normally different. What is your, I've heard Mr. Brown, what is your take on what happened?
Well, to be honest with you, I wasn't really taking him on because I didn't have a father from the time I was 6 years.
Okay.
And my mother always very strict on us. Mm-hmm. She never used to let us go places, you know, we out of her sight and things like that. Okay. Because she said, you all not got no father. And when you get into trouble, it's only me. Mm-hmm. So I really wasn't taking him on. Okay. But seeing well then that we were at the same school, you know, things begin to happen gradually. Gradually, we didn't go into it. Yeah. We didn't rush anything.
Okay.
Because that time I was very young and he too was young. And we didn't get serious until after I returned from Spring Gardens in 1952.
Okay. So in other words, Mr. Brown, you don't believe in love at first sight then?
No.
It wasn't love at first sight?
No.
It was
in
like
this
gradual.
In this instance, it was gradual.
Okay. How many years do you think that gradual thing took? From the time you got to know her as a schoolmate until you popped the question, about how many years passed between you?
It could be anything like 5 or 6 years.
That's a long time.
Oh, yes.
That's a long time. When he popped that question, you must have been caught off guard though.
Yes.
And you didn't respond. What were you telling him by not responding? Come again and ask me tomorrow?
Well, I believe he would because he's kind of aggressive fellow when he comes to what he wants.
Okay.
He tries to go for it.
Okay.
And what he used to do at afternoons when I'm coming home, Commonwealth School had a side window. Mm-hmm. You could have half in this classroom and half in the other classroom. Mm-hmm. So if you are in this classroom and you see anybody passing, you could see. And if you're in the other classroom, you could also see. So every afternoon when I pass, where my class was, I usually go at the upper end, like with clinic, and come down this way. and he would be there.
So that became like the love window.
Yes.
and I bet you that you used to pass a couple times more often than you. What do you think, Mr. Brown?
Absolutely.
Okay,
And you see, we used to take part in concerts too. We were two stars, you know. We liked acting and whatnot.
Okay.
So we had, after school, we used to practice. And sometimes until late and whatnot. So we became more and more acquainted with the plays that we had and the songs that we sing and whatnot.
Great. Now, a friendship developed. Did any of you ever think that it would result in a marriage from that close friendship?
Well, I believed, because after we became, you know, more matured, he said he would marry me.
Oh, okay.
You know, but we're not rushing anything.
Okay.
So I had the confidence in him that he would. So the relationship continued.
Mr. Brown, a young man, having caught the eye of a beautiful woman, don't normally think marriage. How serious were you?
Well, then I wasn't too serious at the beginning.
Okay.
But then early in my life, at about the age of 20 to be exact, my mother, on whom I relied so well, she died, you see.
Okay.
And then I was the eldest one at home and had the family's burden on my soldiers. I could not really, I did not want to leave them, my younger brothers and sisters, and so on. But at the same time, I would have liked to make her happy.
Okay, so you were caught between like a rock and a hard place. You're the eldest one at home. You're like the breadwinner. You're the senior person in the house. But you still want to go with this woman whose heart you would have won virtually.
Well, yes, and more so because I thought of her as needing help as well. You know, although she was, you know,
pretty independent.
I thought there were certain things which I could help her, that I could help her with.
Okay.
What really happens to me, I'm somewhat like a philanthropist, you see.
Okay.
I think very deeply of others.
Okay.
And if I see there's something there that is giving you trouble, I'll come and help. It's just in me. I was born like that.
I understand. That's great.
Yes.
But tell me something. Mrs. Brown looking at her, obviously, was not just a pupil teacher, any pupil teacher. She obviously was an attractive woman. I'm assuming that there were 10 other guys who would have been looking in her direction as well. What was your competition like?
Well, I had no competition. What really happened is, you see, I was like the first youngster in the area who would have passed through the examinations, those rigid examinations of those days. So my place was exemplary, and I was looked up to as being, you know, a young star in the country.
Okay.
So I had no competition.
You think Mr. Brown is patting himself on his back to him? How many other guys wrote you letters those days?
Well, a few, but I used to tell them up front, well, I'm not interested, to be honest, because even when I went on training in Antigua, there was a guy by the name of Daniel. His last name was Daniel, and he was very interested in me.
Okay.
And he wrote me a letter, you know those foolscap pages? A long letter.
The whole foolscap?
The whole foolscap and more. Because he was a policeman in the force up there.
Wow.
And I had a brother up there in the force as well. So even if I had the money to go astray, I couldn't, because he used to keep a watchful eye on me.
Oh, okay.
You know? So when he sent that letter to me, I mailed it to him in Nevis.
Wow. Wow. Mr. Brown, when you got that letter, did you start thinking about getting a gun or something to go look for this guy?
I knew, I had confidence that everything would be okay, and that this fellow was
just wasting time.
Wasting time.
Well, that's good. Well, you got married, and you've been living together. But from the best of my knowledge and my limited experience, every day may not be rosy. Has every day been rosy for you guys?
Could never. We are just
Oh,
human.
no.
Okay.
We some rough days passed during the courtship, which we skipped over.
Okay. And during the marriage, there may have been a couple of days when, you know, you probably wondered, did I make the right step here?
That's
and then
right.
there are other days when you say, boy, I should have made it quicker. Do you want to tell us any one experience in terms of how you would deal with it? Because there's some younger married couples out there who may want some advice. Let's say, for instance, I don't know, I heard a case about a man whose wife couldn't cook cornmeal very well.
Oh, yeah?
And one day she cooked cornmeal, or she tried to cook cornmeal, and she thought that she'll make her husband really happy. So when he got home, he said, I have cornmeal and fish. And whatever it looked like to him, it didn't look like cornmeal. And he threw it out of the window in the middle of the road where everybody could see, and says, this is what she called cornmeal. And she was very depressed.
Yeah, well, that was something
No,
to be
is there
depressed
anything
about.
that would have happened that you would say, well, this is what happened and we dealt with it this particular way, so that some younger couple could take some advice?
Well, I would never have done that. Anything which is wrong between us, we would not allow what is going on inside there
To go to the public.
to go to the public.
Right.
So normally I would not have done anything like that. But you know, maybe I would tease her a day or two after and say, oh, that whole thing, you know. And we generally, when something go wrong, or let us say foolish, we turn it into a joke.
In the end.
In the end, we turn it into a joke and laugh, you know.
Okay.
And then I would say, well, I wonder if I was drunk or stupid, you know. And we would laugh it off like that.
Ms. Brown, what about you? I mean, there must have been times when you I just want to know how you dealt with those situations.
Well, similar to what he's saying there, because we always try to solve the problems and don't let it get out of hand. Put it that way.
Okay.
Because, you know, when it gets out of hand, it's harder to make a step forward.
True.
So when anything happens, you try and nip it in the bud.
Right.
You know,
And
before
keep it
stretch
private.
out. Yes.
What about the children? Do you get the children involved?
No. We
Okay.
never involve
This
the
is
children.
your thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And we always, if we have any, you know, any little displeasure with one another, and anybody comes to the home, right away we
It's a
thumbs
different
again.
story.
Oh, it's a different story. Nobody could ever detect.
So, Mr. Brown, if she's ever angry with you, maybe it's a good time to tell me, Morton, show up at the house.
Oh yes.
We always do that. We say, if anybody comes,
We got to
we
be
got
as
to
if
make the
everything is
best
fine.
behavior.
That's
Everything
good.
is fine.
That's great.
You know, so we never ever let anybody know what's going on.
Now, I know that both of you believe in God. As we are reaching out to people who, you know, are probably contemplating marriage, what are your thoughts on God's ideal for marriage in terms of your personal marriage and what you know God would expect from you, and your advice to anybody who is contemplating marriage.
I always recommend marriage to young people and tell them, well, it's not something to rush into.
Okay.
You have to take your time and you have to weigh the pros and the cons. And one thing you should always try and find out the family background.
Okay.
Because it's very important to know the family background, to know, well, how these people, about the behavior and things like that, because you don't want to get into a rowdy family and you get embarrassed and whatnot.
Okay.
So those are the kind of things I would tell young people, and well, take care of yourself. The world was not made in a day. Don't rush anything. I say, if you're a friend and you all get at something, try and patch it up. Don't let anybody know, because some people give bad advices.
Okay.
Try and keep it between you all and let the love go on.
Okay.
I say, well, you can't allow any much time to pass, because somebody over there would be glad to slip in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is true. Mr. Brown, your thoughts?
Well, what I know, we are both church goers, believers in God,
Right.
and the Christian principle.
Right.
She's Anglican. I am Methodist.
Okay.
We have decided to stick to our faith.
Okay.
And well, all of the children are on her way. But I'm not worried about that.
Okay.
When I pray for all of them, and I believe in prayer.
And you do that together, right? Most times.
Well,
when you wake up in mornings and stuff.
Sometimes, but sometimes we don't have
the time,
to do it on a regular basis.
Okay.
Because some days are more hectic than others.
Right.
And having the children, and you have to get them ready for school, and you have to do this, and you have to do that. It takes a lot of time. Normally, I get up, in those days there, I used to get up at 2:30.
Wow.
And I still do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Brown, as we wrap up this interview, probably we could look at some advice to people in general who are watching. What would be your bit of advice to anyone? They don't have to be married. They don't have to be contemplating marriage. But in terms of, this is more than a marriage. This is a friendship. This is a friendship that has gone on maybe longer than 55 years. Because the fact that you're married for 55 years and this was gradual means that you're friends maybe 5 years before that or whatever.
Yeah.
So this is a 60-year plus friendship that has grown into this marriage. Having a friendship like this is not normal. People are breaking up after 1 month, 1 week, 2 years.
Yeah.
What would you tell the folks out there?
Well, for one thing, I deplore young people going together and living as husband and wife without marriage.
Okay.
I don't like it.
Okay.
I don't like it. And I am one of those men who I seem to have an easy feeling for the females. For one thing, I love my mother dearly, you see.
Okay.
And I have a sort of easy feeling
Like
for
a soft spot.
a soft spot for ladies.
Okay.
So I don't like to see them being misused
Okay.
in any way. And for that matter, I would like the young people to get on with the job they have to do. And if you waste the time in your older days, you're going to regret it. So whatever you have to do, do it.
now.
Do
Okay.
it. Do it. and do the right things. Because for every foolish step you have made, you are going to pay for it. I believe in those principles. And I think if you, as a young person, you believe in, you have to be, first of all, you have to be honest. You have to be honest. If you're bringing in anything, that quotation, honesty is the best policy. That has stuck with me. Maybe I learned it since I was about 3.
Okay.
And it hasn't gone.
Right.
If you are not honest, then you are going to have difficulties. You're going to have difficulties. Because you will be basing your future on something that is not there.
Yeah. Gotcha.
You see? And I would ask young people to, I notice I don't see that too much now. Reading.
Yeah, that's true.
Reading.
It's more TV and internet.
Yes. In my days, well, I was an avid reader at a very youthful age. You know, reading off a whole book, maybe in one night.
Yeah, I remember those days reading off a Hardy Boy to lend somebody else the next day.
Yes. You know, and that is good advice for all young people. Read a lot. Read as much as you can. And it is my hobby, but since I had the eye complaint, you know,
ease off on that,
I can't read anymore.
Okay. All right, Ms. Brown, your thoughts, closing thoughts?
Well, what I see today happening is that young people, for one, they're not sincere.
Okay.
And because of that, the love that they portray is not real.
Okay.
So as soon as anything happens between them, gone. There's no way they could compromise.
Okay.
The only thing that comes to the mind
is leave.
Gone. So I believe if they have more love, more sincerity, better relationship by way of conversation, anything happen, you don't go and tell the neighbor.
Right.
You sit down with a morning, noon, or night, whenever it's convenient, and you talk it over. And if you find that it doesn't settle in one go, you work at it. You work at it until you feel that you have accomplished something.
Gotcha.
And I believe if you stick to those principles, the relationship would continue and continue in a good way.
Okay.
But I find that young people, they're not faithful, they're not sincere, and that is why you see that they go astray.
Okay.
Well, you see, some of the things coming over on the radio and so on help them to think that way too, you know.
Okay.
As I was listening to a song the other day and you hear, "Done with him." Done with him. So right as soon as anything happens,
done with him.
Done with him.
Well, and that's not the way to go.
No,
that's not the way to go.
No.
Now, I have a magic moment for us now. As we close out this interview, Mr. and Mrs. Franklin Brown celebrates on Tuesday 23rd their 55th wedding anniversary. After 55 years, normally you'd assume that the romance has gone out of the marriage. But I want to find out if that is the case. So I'll now say to you, Mr. Brown, you may now kiss the bride.
Oh, certainly. That is my delight.
And so, viewers, that's where we close out this interview. And when you see Mr. and Mrs. Franklin Brown, you can please congratulate them after 55 years of marriage. That's no easy feat. And thank God he has brought them through up to this point, still going strong, still kissing, still in love. And we thank them very much for allowing us into their homes, and we wish you a pleasant evening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Morton.
Okay.
God bless.
God bless. God bless. Okay.
One of my boys, you see, you hear the New River boys?
Yes.
Taught me well.
Yes, yes.